Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm kind of stuck right now, so I just wanted to have a conversation with you. This is why I'm stuck. Someone's taking a nap. So I'm here washing laundry and things like that, getting my life together. But I wanted to talk to you. Well, since I'm stuck, right? I just have some time. I want to talk to you about trauma, you know, and why we are all feeling so insecure and scared and want to leave the United States. Why we're walking around with so much anxiety, hopelessness, how we are being triggered, triggers from the past when you were little, and you're getting those triggers, especially if you lived in an abusive home, and it just brings up all these old memories. One thing I know about that is, yeah, you get triggered, right? And when you get triggered, it's not necessarily a bad thing, even though your body is reacting like you're back there, going through that experience. But Alexa, turn off the fan. Alexa, turn off the fan. Sorry, I didn't want you to feel like you were in a tornado, but anyway, or hurricane. You get triggered, and your body has all of the same emotions you did when you were having that traumatic experience, whether you were young or older, whatever happened. And your body is just, it acts like that because of your brain. Your brain is always looking for threats and things like that. And when you go through some traumatic experience, that gets like registered in your brain. It gets seared into your brain. So if you remember, like if you're past, like you're more likely to remember a lot of the bad stuff. You remember some of the good stuff, but the first things that come to your mind is the bad stuff because your brain is like, oh my goodness, like this happened, you know? And your body doesn't know. It just reacts to what the brain is doing. It's reminding you of all of the things you went through. And you may not necessarily know it at the time when you're having the trigger. You just know you feel like crap. You feel like your heart's racing and can't breathe. And you feel like you want to hide or run, or you just can't think straight because your brain is in overdrive, and you don't know why you feel like that. And what's weird is that, like, let's say, okay, I'll give you an example. I had a boyfriend back then. My boyfriend I always talk about because he was very traumatizing for me. But he had a truck that was super loud, like, "Rrrr," And whenever he would come home, I would know he was home. At first, it was exciting when I heard it, right? Because I was in love. And then when the shit hit the fan and he was abusing me little by little in different ways, not physically, because homeboy would have, I don't deal with that. But he was abusing me in a lot of different ways. And there was always drama in his life. Like, he lived on drama. Like, he created fires and, like, acted happy because he put them out. Like, you caused the fires, right? He would come home and there'll always be some new drama, some new thing that I have to worry about. Baby mama this, baby mama that, and she said this about you. And I mean, it's just every day. And, in and of themselves, like, one problem in a day is not a big deal. But when you do that all of the time, when you do that all of the time, and it's over and over and over again, it becomes traumatic, sort of like PTSD. And after a while, his truck made me so anxious whenever I heard it coming down the road on the driveway. My stomach would be hurting, and I would be happy cleaning, cooking, ready to put his hot meal on the table, Puerto Rican style. And as soon as I heard his truck, my stomach sank. I wanted to throw up. I was nauseous. I was anxious. I was worried about what the next thing was, you know? And this happened for years. And then when we broke up, every time I heard a truck, I would freak the hell out. And I didn't put two and two together until I finally did. You know, I was at Zaxby's and there was a guy there, and it was a loud truck passing by, and it hit me. The guy saw my face, like all the color went out, and I was like, I froze for a second, and I was like, I'm sorry. I said, I'm sorry. I just get nervous whenever I hear a truck because it reminds me of my ex, and then I realized, oh my god, like I was traumatized, and I'm triggered, right? So it took some work to get over that, you know. And what we're going through is the same thing, you know, like, you know, you heard the term flood the zone. And, you know, those are tactics that abusive and narcissistic people do. Like they will create so much havoc around you that you feel unsafe and you feel like you need them. But they're the ones that are causing the problems, you know? So like your I don't know how to say this. If you get kidnapped, right? Your kidnapper also becomes your savior because you're relying on them for food and, you know, roof over your head and clothing and things like that. And it's confusing as hell, you know, because you got to get the hell out of there. But at the same time, you rely on that person. And we're going through that, you know. You know, there's, you know, the interference with the elections in Fulton County, and then you have all of the cuts that he's made to services and social safety nets, and then you have people being dragged out of their houses and all of that, you know, and they quote like good intentions, right? But it's really not, you know. And what else? You know, the Epstein files and the you know, how he just does outrageous things like this new thing with Obama now. I don't even know how to react to that. I will at some point, but I'm so furious about that. And it causes outrage, right? And then he has these flying monkeys, you know, they're their cabinet. They're out there causing outrage too, you know, and they're attacking us too. That if we feel attacked by everybody, you know, and then on top of that, we attack each other, you know, and he has an army attacking Americans, and we're fighting each other. There's a lot of hate online. We're worried about money. We're worried about food. We're worried about getting a house over our head, a roof over our head. You know, and in a lot of people's cases, like, I mean, they don't have money for anything, you know, and we're getting taxed more than the billionaires. I mean, there's just so much. I can go on and on and on and on about it. And there are so many fires around us, you know, and it seems like we may put one fire out here and we may win that battle over there, right? But then like 5 more fires come, you know, that he put on, that he lit. And she's listening, I think. Nope. You know, and you, after a while, you feel like, what's next? You know, and you're looking for threats all over the place. And you look around and you feel really isolated, you know, because the people around you are for him, you know, and you feel like you can't talk to anybody, you know, about your feelings because they may believe in that too. And you're isolated and you're scared and you're having anxiety attacks because you are getting triggered because in your past, maybe you felt this way, you know. And you want to run. Like, I wanted to move so much. I just want to move to like Greenland or something like that. But, you know, it's triggering all these stress responses in us. Everybody in America is feeling this way, you know, and it is not cool. It is not cool for us to feel this way. We should not feel this way with our government, you know. And the thing I want you to remember is that, you know, you're getting triggered for a reason. So I don't look at triggers as a bad thing anymore. It feels bad, right? But when I get triggered, I stop. I stop everything I'm doing. And I ask myself, why am I feeling this way? And I remind myself that I'm safe at this moment. And I try to think, what is it? Why am I overreacting to this? Why am I getting more emotional than usual? Why am I, outraged and full of rage at this moment, And that's because it's a response, to your trauma. And even if you can't figure it out at the time, you will later on, because when you're stressed out, like your thought processes are just looking for other threats at the moment, so it's hard to like really think about it. But just calm yourself down, put your hand on your chest, take some deep breaths, say, I'm safe. I'm feeling this kind of way, but it's not going to last forever. And at some point, I'm going to figure it out, and then I'm going to work on it. You know, like it is so pervasive that it could literally be something like a flower your boyfriend gave you, or something your girlfriend gave you, a certain kind of watch, or something like that. And every time you see something like that, like let's say you see that flower somewhere in the wild, or you see somebody with the same kind of watch, like it'll trigger you, you know just like some songs brings happy memories, and there are some songs that I'm like, oh, the song is fine. It's just that it just ties to something, you know and I just want you to know that God is in control, or whoever you worship, and that we will get through this somehow. And we can all, do with staying off the computer or your phone or the news for a while whenever we get overwhelmed. I had to do that last weekend. I was upset. I was so upset. And I didn't know what to do, and I felt trapped. Like there's no way out of this, I feel. All I'm seeing is fires and not enough firefighters. The firefighters that we have in government right now, the Democrats, and I'm not happy with either side, don't get me wrong, but they're not even putting the water on. Like, that's how I felt. Now I see them doing things and fighting and things like that, but I felt like there was nobody doing anything. You know, it's because everybody is stressed. Everybody, they don't know what to do on both sides. I don't think this has ever happened before. People they don't know what narcissistic abuse is. And that's what it is. you know and to Trump, bad publicity is good publicity, as well. And that's why he does some of the outrageous things he does, and it infuriates people. A lot of the things infuriate people, and he likes that, especially if it makes the left mad and angry and people outraged. He enjoys it because it's abuse. Okay. And that's why he's going after Minneapolis, Minnesota, because Tim Walz was his running against him with Kamala Harris. And, he's going after Fulton County because I guess Brad Raffensperger, wouldn't give him an inch. And he said, no, this was fair. We checked it like 3 times and it was fine. And he wants to go there. And a lot of the things that he's doing is just to traumatize all of us and make us feel like we can't do anything, like we're hopeless, like we're trapped. He wants us isolated. He wants us not talking to our family members who are MAGA. He wants all of us to be separated, and I don't believe that's loving America. He wants us to believe that our vote doesn't count anymore, so that we won't vote. If he can put some doubt in there, and he has, the big lie, right? And he has, then a lot of people are going to say, then what's the point? And if he can go and get those votes, right? If he can go and take them like that, then, I mean, what is he going to do with that? He's going to cause doubt in everybody. And that's not cool. And then the threats of the ICE agents, being at the toll, the voting booths and stuff like that. Like that's all intimidation. That is intimidation so that people won't show up. I am even afraid of it because I have color. I'm from Puerto Rico, but I have color. So does my family, and that's part of my trauma too. I worry. I worry about my family, and all of the Spanish families out there, all the Mexicans, all the Dominicans, all of them, you know, and even though we're citizens, I'm worried. I'm stressed about that, because one of my family members could be dragged away, and beaten up or whatever, eventually I believe they'll be let out. But, anything can happen, you know, and I shouldn't have to live like this, you know. And there are times too where I'm around people and I'm worried. I'm thinking, are they racist? Are they like, do they hate Spanish people? Are they looking at me some kind of way? And it's paranoia, and it's not cool. It is not cool. So if you feel that way, I am so sorry. We should not feel like this in America. You know, you may not like certain groups, but you know what? Don't hang out with them. You know, if you don't like trans, don't be around them. You don't have to actively throw hate, you know? So, it just boggles my mind. And a lot of the things that he put out there, like, the trans want to use the girls' bathroom and the women in sports and all this stuff, it's just to cause outrage, in his base, to spark anger and fury against marginalized groups, people that are different, and the drugs thing, we all know that was bullshit. We all know it by now. He was killing fishing boats, and whether it was drugs or not, whether it was drugs or not, he could have taken them over here when they got here. He could protect our waters, but it was all for the oil. We know that. And it wasn't because of the drugs, because he also let out some guy, I forgot his name, I think it's from Honduras or something like that, who was in prison for selling, I think, 440 tons of cocaine or something like that. I have to look it up. Don't quote me. But he let him out. He gave him a pardon. So if you care about the kids and the drugs and all the things, why? Why would you do that? He should be in fucking, alligator Alcatraz or like Guantanamo Bay or El Salvador. Like he should be over there, but not free. Who knows what he's doing now? And I'm sure he got some money for that. But back to the point. We are all scared and we are all nervous. And we're walking around in terror. We're seeing things we're not used to seeing. Take it in. Take it in. And then try to unplug. Try to fill your life with happy things as best you can. Spend time with your family. Spend time with your pets. Snuggling. Go out into nature. Go fishing. Go hunting. Camping. Something. And just unplug. Because the shit's going to be there later. It's going to be there tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And sometimes you have to limit your news intake to once a week, and just try to outweigh all this negativity with positivity. Pay attention to the triggers. They're telling you something. You just need to figure it out. Don't be afraid of them. Okay? And at some point, I want to start doing some lives to talk to people who are going through these kind of things. I just have not and brave enough to do it, you know. But at some point, I'm going to have people, call in and talk about how they feel and how their lives are being affected and things like that. At some point, probably next weekend, I'll do it. But anyway, I just want you to know that I care about you. I'm there for you. And, I believe that at some point, we're all going to be reunited with our families, that are MAGA, and that eventually they're going to see everything clearly, and it's going to be hard for them, you know. But I believe in America. It's hard because I did not believe in America at least a week ago. I was like, oh, but I believe we're going to get back to, being united, and having a boring government. I want that so bad, I want that so bad. But anyway, God bless. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hang in there.